The Detroit Lions elect to no longer be in the Terrion Arnold business.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody. It is a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Matt Dery with you, Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Today on the program, we'll finish up with a call of the day. If you want to be a call of the day, leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Dery, Dery podcast page. Terrion Arnold is no longer a Detroit Lion. Could Denzel Ward be a trade possibility? We'll discuss that. We also have to mourn the loss of a local radio guy who I didn't really know very well, but I'm going to explain why I'm bringing up a Kenny Kott's passing today. But let's start with the news of the day, and that was very, very interesting. Terrion Arnold's pre-detention hearing today, a pre-detention trial hearing that took place today down in Florida. At times today, all right, and again, news of the day, Terrion Arnold's been released by the Lions. Let's not bury the lead. Arnold's gone. The Lions released him today. With that being said, if you go back to the start of the day, I was getting text messages from friends, from Lions fans. I was seeing messages to which many people felt like there was a good chance during this pretrial detention hearing today that Arnold's attorney, this big wig out of Denver, was absolutely flexing on witnesses and authorities, because basically they claim, the authorities in Florida, police and everybody else claim that they've got evidence tying Terrion Arnold to all of this kidnapping, armed robbery, conspiracy to kidnap, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, the incident that took place in February. Yet the lawyer for Arnold was doing a great job for Terrion. He's just blistering these authorities who are like, we think, and basically tying a lot of this activity to members of Arnold's friend group, but not Terrion. Did you specifically have him on FaceTime? Was he barking out the orders? Well, we don't know. Like, it looked good for Arnold at a point today. Yet, the judge, authorities, everybody else down in Florida still believe that Terrion likely is going to go to trial, and, now is being no longer held in prison. He is out on bond at $1 million. So today, during the pretrial hearing, Judge Christopher Sabella determined there was probable cause to move forward with the trial, but rejected the state's request. Arnold continued to be held in jail, granting him a $1 million bond and the ability to travel for work. The last sentence is key. Ability to travel for work. The Detroit Lions do not want Terrion Arnold here. The ability to travel for work. This is why I think the Lions waited until today to finally say, you know what? We're cutting bait. They easily could have released him on Friday. They easily could have released him on Saturday. They easily could have released him on Sunday. And I understand where we are in a society. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Terrion Arnold is not a felon yet. He's been charged with 8 felony counts. All right. And 6 of his co-defendants have already been charged in the case. And many of them are pointing the finger at Terrion to say he should be with us in jail and in trouble because he was behind all of this. Yet that's a he said, she said situation, because if you listen to Arnold's lawyer today, he was doing a good job in Terrion's defense, trying to say he had nothing to do with this. Yeah, he knows these people, but he had nothing to do with it. As part of his release agreement, Arnold is not permitted to have any contact with the co-defendants or any witnesses. His representation has strongly denied his involvement, which we just said. This from Justin Rogers at Detroit Football Network. The Lions declined comment during the day today. And then late this afternoon, the Lions decided to release Terrion Arnold. He will no longer play for the Detroit Lions. innocent or not, guilty or not guilty, whatever it is, the Lions have decided we don't want to be a part of this anymore. And quite honestly, I can't blame them. Now, I get for some of you, and I would dare to read the comments later tonight on our YouTube page or at Dery Speaks on Twitter or wherever else you find us and me. I know what some of you are going to say. Well, wait a minute. He's on bond now. He can still play. What if they find him not guilty? The Lions don't want to deal with it. This is a distraction. This is something what have the Lions said all off season? They're strictly business. Their focus is laser on winning. The Detroit Lions are focused on football. Oh, joint practices. That might be fun. Nope. Local pro day. That might be cool. Nope. Oh, Brad Holmes, come on out to the owners meeting. Nope. The Lions can't say they're strictly business and focusing on winning and getting back to an elite level in the NFL when they've got a possible convicted felon on their team. The Lions couldn't do it. They couldn't be in that business anymore. And they cut bait today. And guess what? They have every right to. Now, Arnold could eventually file a grievance with the Players Association, say I was wrongfully let go. But for today, right now, the Lions are staying out of that business. They don't want any part of it anymore. I saw people joking today. Oh, he'll sign with the Browns tomorrow. He'll sign with the Raiders. Those are terrible franchises that bring in convicts. Ha ha ha. Again, allegedly. I'm trying to be fair here. But the Lions aren't dealing with it. They don't want to deal with it. They've talked about football culture. They've talked about good guys. They've talked about not signing problem children or players that are going to be disruptive in the locker room. Could you imagine Terrion Arnold going, I'm on bond. I can go to work. Oh, I can't travel to the game over in Berlin, Germany. Can't leave the country. But hey, I'm going up to Allen Park. Ain't nothing wrong. The Lions weren't having it. And I give them credit. They cut bait. They decided we're going to go forward with Rakestraw or Ennis Rakestraw, or as I mentioned last week, do they go out and sign a Travon Diggs or a Kenny Moore or a Rasul Douglas or a veteran that is still on the street right now that has played NFL football at a high level at cornerback in the past? Again, Travon Diggs was cut by the Packers after 5 minutes in Green Bay at the end of last year. Kenny Moore is still out there on June 29th, and the Colts let him go. Now, granted, he wanted to be traded and was granted his release, but you get my drift here. The Lions made a decision today to no longer spend time on Terrion Arnold. And because he was a first-round pick, because we've talked many a time about the 2024 draft, it looks bad. 2024 draft, Brad Holmes, 2023 draft, 2022 draft. This guy hit home runs left and right. The 2024 draft with Terrion Arnold as a first-round pick, with Giovanni Manu being a bust, with Ennis Rakestraw not playing in 2 years. I could go on and on. Right? It hasn't worked out. But the Lions don't want this distraction, and they released him today. And as we talked about, I said it Friday or Thursday last week, I didn't think he was going to be on the team anyway. And now they await trial and everything else. And Terrion Arnold is on bond. So now it's next man up, and now it's time to talk about other things and not have that cloud hanging over Allen Park. What are they going to do with Arnold? They just want to get out of it. And as we know in the NFL, with contracts that are not guaranteed and everything else, they can release him. And that's exactly what they did today. So there'll be a little bit of competition here, as Dan Campbell has talked about, with Rakestraw and Ennis Rakestraw, if healthy, and others on that opposite corner, opposite of DJ Reed. But the former first-round pick, Terrion Arnold, no longer on the Lions. Coming up next, we have Mike Stone. Stoney is going to join us tomorrow. And I actually did the interview with Stoney over the weekend to play for tomorrow. And I brought up a name of a guy at 97 won the ticket. And just so sad today to hear that man, Kenny Kott, has passed away. And I want to touch on that coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions, Monday edition. And Locked On Lions for today, as I mentioned, here on a Monday, brought to you by our friends at Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Workplace chaos can show up fast. That's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team. All right. Lions know they want to build a winning team. They added a lot of depth in that secondary. And of course, they didn't know about the Terrion situation, but they wanted to find the right fits. And that's what the great organizations do. And that's what you could do with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed right here on Locked On Lions. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Welcome back. Matt Dery with you. Thanks for making us your first listen. Everybody checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Shout out to our everyday listeners. We appreciate our everydayers who are out there checking us out daily right here on Locked On Lions. I mentioned Stoney, legendary sports radio host who I worked with at both WDFN and 97 won the ticket. I was with Stoney for 13 years, 1996 to 2009 at DFN. And then he came aboard at the ticket after I did. And we got to work together for many, many years. And Stoney is, as he's known, the godfather of sports radio here in Detroit. He's going to join us tomorrow on the show. Now, full transparency, we taped the interview on Sunday because I have some things going on tomorrow, and I just wanted to have that show done in my interview with Stoney tomorrow. And on the interview, I mentioned the name Kenny Kott. Now, Kenny is not a household name in town, but for those of you that are regular listeners and P1 listeners of the Valenti show with Rico, you know that Kenny was a staple on that show. There's Mike, there's Rico, there's David Hatchet Man Hall. Shout out to David. I worked with David for many years. And Kenny. And Kenny answered phones. Kenny ran the board. And he was a big hockey guy and Red Wing fan. And unfortunately, Mike delivered the news today on their show that Kenny has passed away at the age of 32. So I just wanted to put it out there that tomorrow, when you listen to the interview with Stoney, and it's a lot of fun, and Stoney and I have a lot of fun talking Lions, talking radio bits and everything else. But I brought up Kenny's name, but I just wanted you to know that Kenny has passed away, and that interview was done. He was brought up before that I knew that he passed at 32. And it is beyond sad. I guess Kenny had been ill for the last few months and had been missing work, and he wasn't on the show for a while. I don't have any other details, but anytime the sports community here in Detroit loses anybody, whether it was just somebody that was working behind the scenes on a show that you liked, the one thing, and you know, Mike, I heard Mike mention me today when we were talking about playing drops and stuff. You might not like Valenti, and you might dislike a lot of things that he says. I mean, there's many Michigan fans that can't stand him. There's many of you that don't like him. And that's understandable. He is beloved, and he's also, there's plenty of people that dislike him based upon his takes and everything else on the radio. But you know what Mike always did? Mike always welcomed the guys and females behind the scenes that could help him on the show, and he helped them. He helped them tremendously. Whether it's David, whether it's Sully, whether it's Kenny, whether it was Josh Hollab, who answered the phones when I worked for Mike and worked with Mike. He always takes care of the guys behind the scenes. Ask Brendan Shabath right now, or Jeremy Otto, right? And they'll all tell you Mike's good to them. He is. So thinking of, I guess, Kenny's wife and family, can't even put into words losing a friend at 32. And when I was in radio, we lost a couple of guys very, very young. When I was at DFN, Matt Spryzak, who still should be with us, my boy, big game James Stephen. Anytime you lose any friends that early on and only 32 years old, just terrible. So wanted to mention Kenny, and man, he loved his Red Wings. So as a listener, I just knew who he was through that. I never actually had a conversation with him, but he gets mentioned on the show tomorrow, and I wanted to put that out there. As far as options for the Lions, and I mentioned before, Kenny Moore, Travon Diggs, Rasul Douglas, Marshawn Lattimore is a free agent. I'm not a fan of his at all. I think his best days are behind him. I think he had some really bad years in Washington as a cornerback. But if the Lions elect to go outside of the organization to replace the now released Terrion Arnold, I was on Cleveland radio this morning on 92.3 The Fan talking some Guardians. As you know, I do the Dery Brothers Guardians cast. And Ken Carman, the morning show host on The Fan, said, hey, by the way, while we have you on, you host Locked On Lions. What are the odds that the Lions call the Browns about Denzel Ward? Now, if you guys follow the NFL, you know that Denzel Ward is a 3-time Pro Bowl cornerback, 2018, 2021, and 2023. He's been with the Browns for many, many years out of Ohio State. He signed, I think, after the 2022 season or 2021 season, he signed a 5-year, $100 million deal. His cap hit is large, and he's coming off a year that he didn't play that well. On a very good Browns defense, by the way, led by Jimmy Handshake himself, Jim Schwartz. Denzel Ward had a PFF grade last year, 59.2, which was 70th out of 114 cornerbacks. His coverage grade was 59.6. His run defense grade, 55.7. 1 interception last year, 4 pass breakups. Did not have a great season last year, but at 29 years of age, still in his prime and still a great leader. He's a captain with the Browns and is a pretty good player. CBS Sports' Garrett Podell suggested last week that the LA Chargers could be a team that goes after Denzel Ward. And that because the 2027 draft is so good, that he'd probably only fetch a 4th-round pick. Now, Ward's cap hit is, where is it? I had this and I lost it. Denzel Ward's cap hit is $20 million right now. Actually, excuse me. He has a $30.8 million cap hit in 2026 on top of a possible post-trade extension. But as it was written in CBS Sports last week, Chargers have a lot more cap space to work with than the Lions do. But if the Lions were going to try to move some money around and make that kind of move, they could. I don't believe it's about money. I believe it's about draft capital. And I don't think Brad Holmes is one to be trading draft picks for a player that just had an under 60 PFF grade last year. Denzel Ward's a really good veteran corner. His best days have been the last few years. I like the player, and I think he'd be a good fit here. But again, did not have his best year last year, and it would likely cost you, like we said, anything between a 3rd and a 5th round pick. So keep that in mind. He fits the mold here in terms of veteran leader. He's got void years on his contract. He probably would want an extension, but you could rent him for the year if you don't love him and you're looking for veterans. But I don't think Brad Holmes is going to do that. But it is a viable option because void years on the deal, no guaranteed money left on the deal, and a lot of salary, at least for this year, and a big cap hit. So we'll see. But I told Ken and Anthony this morning on 92.3 The Fan, I think that's like a 30 to 35% chance the Lions would do that. He's a good player. He did not have a good year last year, like I said, but he's still in his prime at 29. And if the Lions like him and can move some money around to get him, and who knows what the Lions are going to do about maybe trying to gain some money back with this Arnold situation, which I don't know if that's not going to happen overnight. But Ward is a player to keep an eye on. I'm just not so sure the Lions are going to pull the trigger on that. All right, call of the day. We're bringing it back. We're going to do that next here on Locked on Lions. Hey, get your Lions a daily fix completely ad-free by joining our Locked on Lions Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without all of the interruptions. Ad-free, and you take part in our Locked on Lions Discord chat. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonlions.supercast.com. That is lockedonlions.supercast.com to join our Locked on Lions Everydayer Club. All right, it's been a while. Leave us some voicemails, folks. We got shows coming up the next couple of days. You want to be our call of the day? We'll feature you. Locked on Lions, at SpeakPipe, our SpeakPipe voicemail system at speakpipe.com/Dery, Dery podcast page. That is speakpipe.com/Dery podcast page. Today's call of the day is from a familiar voice. He behaved himself today. The legendary one, Plymouth Jim, is back with today's call of the day. Let's take a listen.
Matt, this is the Plymouth Jim from both the past and the future. Congratulations on your 10 years of Locked on Lions. I appreciated the shout out. You've done great work since the days of 11:30 The Fan, 10:50 The Trial, and 97.1 The Valenti. Every place you've been, you've brought it. Here, serving the cornbread nation, devoted to the Honolulu Blue, no longer with black accents. You deliver it without being a fanboy, and that's the highest praise I can give. So I'll leave you with a drop from one of your, really from your very own show this week, delivered by none other than Bradford, formerly Brad Banta.
Just give me the diesel. That's all I want. Just give me the diesel.
And I thank you.
Plymouth Jim has his own podcast, by the way. Look it up. Plymouth Jim Mulhern. And I thank you. It's actually pretty good. He talks about pop culture, a lot of music stuff. Yes, thank you, Jim. Jim is one that has been with us for 10 years. We talked about it the last couple of weeks. We have done this podcast for 10 years and just recently celebrated the 10-year anniversary. Here's the thing about doing Locked on Lions for 10 years, and I don't need to get sentimental with you. And like I said, we got Stoney coming on this week. Mike Valenti likely going to come on with us later in the week too. Kind of a ticket week, if you want to say. But can't do this show and can't get there without the fans. Lions fans are the best. You guys are the best. It's not even close. And, Stoney mentioned it tomorrow when you'll hear him when we talk about the other teams in town. Lions are going for it. Lions want to win. Lions have had a good run. And today is another prime example with the release of Terrion Arnold that they want to stay focused on winning and football and don't want any distractions and want to keep the culture what it is and keep it consistent. And that's all you can ask for from a team. All right. I'm assuming when Brad Holmes speaks to the media, and I don't know when that's going to be, when his next media availability will be. It could be start of the season. Could be on cut down day in August. And he'll be asked about Terrion Arnold. I'm sure Dan Campbell will as well. And they want to support their guys and their players as much as they can. And Dan Campbell got a little bit of flack from some of you fans from weeks ago when he said, hey, we're backing our guy. He says he didn't do anything wrong. And, we'll let the process play out. He hasn't been charged. He hasn't been arrested. Then, of course, he got arrested and he's now been charged. But Dan Campbell is a player's coach. And they want that talent on the field. Terrion Arnold was a first-round talent. He started to play better last year before he injured his shoulder. And right now, I'm concerned about the opposite corner spot of DJ Reed. Heck, DJ Reed sucked for the second half of last year. And you're asking guys to have to elevate themselves into starters right here, right now. I think they will sign a veteran. I think a Kenny Moore or somebody like that should be added. And yeah, they will have competition. I mentioned before, Rock Ya-Sin had a really nice year last year, but he was the number 3 or 4 corner. Now you're asking him to move up to be the number 2 guy. Ennis Rakestraw hasn't played in 2 or 3 years. He's basically going to be a rookie out there this year. So when he came out of Missouri, he got hurt right away with the Lions. He was injured in college, and then last year didn't play it down. Now, a lot of people had him graded out as a first-round talent coming out of Mizzou. Now we have to see it. That's the hope. The hope is that Ya-Sin can stay on, Rock that is, as a swing corner, as a 3rd or 4th guy, and that Rakestraw grabs it. He takes a hold of it and grabs it and becomes a starter and becomes a good player. All we really saw from him was preseason games and a few games in 2024. And that was it. He was injured. He was hurt. If he could stay healthy and step up, that would be enormous for this team. Now, I get it too. A guy like Nick Whiteside had a decent game in the famous Legion of Whom game against Tampa last year, but after that, he barely played. Lions didn't have that much confidence in him because he was barely out there after that. I still think one of these veteran guys is going to be signed at a minimum and for not a lot of money, and the Lions will hope that they step up. So we have seen a lot in 10 years here on Locked On Lions. We thank Plymouth Jim for checking in with us on our call today. Again, leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Dery podcast page. Don't forget Locked On Lions on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and wherever you get your podcasts. So please like and subscribe our Locked On Lions YouTube channel as well. We are back again tomorrow with Michael Stone. Stoney going to join us tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions.